Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm going to continue the cognitive function series and talk about introverted feeling, which is FI. Um, so introverted feeling is an introverted judging function or decider function. It's also an identity oriented function. It pertains to the personal decisions that make someone who they are, that they've come to about themselves. So types who lead with introverted feeling, they are most in touch with their personal identity, what they personally value. Um, this matters most to them, checking in with what they like, how they feel, what they value, what they dislike, um, and guiding their life based on those decisions that they've made, or judgments on everything in a sense. They are checking in with their identity and defining their identity more and more. Um, that is their highest priority as an FI person. So um, FI, as opposed to extroverted feeling, they both are feeling functions pertaining to the emotions, pertaining to just values in general. But extroverted feeling has more of a element of checking in with everyone else and knowing what everyone else is valuing, being in tune with the people around them. The FI user, on the other hand, is very much in tune with themselves. They always want to come back to knowing themselves, knowing where they stand on an issue, knowing like their morals, knowing what is bad, what is good to them, um, coming to a conclusion on everything. Uh, yeah, they're moving at the pace of knowing. Other types might not prioritize being that in touch with where they stand on an issue, where they stand on a topic, um, their point of view in that sort of way. Other types can be kind of preoccupied, just how they're wired, with other agendas or other goals that they set out to manage or prioritize, really. So the FI user is in touch with their own values. Um, their FI function works on an axis with extroverted thinking, which is more about the tribe's reasons, being in touch with the logic, the reasoning of the people around them, what's working for the people, what's working for everybody, sort of thing. So types who lead with introverted feeling, they have TE, extroverted thinking, as an inferior function. So they are not checking in with that as much. They're not seeing um, if what they're if what they value um, really works for the tribe. They're not checking in with that as much. Um, they are just more in touch with developing their own whatever they're creating. It could be like them writing a book. It could be them making music. They're they are creating something or living from a place that represents them. They highly um, identify, or they live from a place that whatever they produce should be uh, a representation of them. I'm kind of repeating myself a bit, but it's uh, this is what they feel responsible for, I think is the best way to say it. Like, for instance, if you write a book, that book was an expression of me as a priority. Another perspective from the tribe's point of view, when the TE comes in, the TE feedback, in a sense, of what the tribe says, oh, that didn't work for me. What you wrote about, that didn't work. Or people out here, we don't identify with that. Or, that can be hard for an FI user to hear, to get that tribe feedback when they've been working, putting everything into what they're doing, and they're like, hey, this thing, it represents me. This is who I am, in a sense. And then for the tribe to give feedback of like, hey, you're way off the spectrum. That's something that they can be out of touch with, and not notice where they fall on the social spectrum, in the collective, or how the collective is receiving them, or finding what they've majored in to be useful to them, right? And it can be very easy for an FI user or an identity first human need type of person to just push away from the tribe and go, well, I've got freedom. I know who I am, and I'm just going to go even deeper into my FI. And I don't like how the tribe gave me feedback. I didn't like that. So I just go back into FI. That could be a comfort zone for them to just get more and more in touch with their emotions, their values, on just defining like, hey, I'm going in this direction. I'm choosing these things. I like these things. FI is related to just knowing what you like, knowing what you want. Knowing what you like, and I'd say want to. Sometimes want is more of an NI sort of thing, but just like likes and dislikes, they are not prone to justify themselves with reasons, which would be the TE. They're just like, I like it, therefore I chose it. They just live the life that they want, is probably the best way to say it. They just choose what they like. They reject what they don't like. And they're very much in touch with, these are my likes, these are my dislikes. And it's like it's a set thing. It's static. I've heard someone use that term, that it's static. It's not moving. It's a judgment. So this, again, is a deciding function. This is not an observer that's just taking in information. This is a decision maker as the first function in this person. So they're prioritizing knowing what they want and living a life based on what they want, what they like. They're defining their identity more and more. And they're very sure of themselves in that way. They might not be sure of where they fit in with other people, but they're very sure of what they are and what they care about, what they value, what they like. That is what they're ever getting more in touch with. So, it can be a shocking experience for them to hear feedback, to go out and present their personal thing to the world. It can be a vulnerable experience for them. It can be somewhat of their biggest fear, really, to take something that's that personal and bring it for everyone to touch, for everyone to consume and to comment on. But it's definitely a growth point for them. But I understand it is something that can be difficult, considering how heavily invested they are in their introverted feeling construct, I guess, or just like FI is kind of like the deepest me kind of function. Like, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is what I like. And I live by this code. I live by this way of being. Another aspect of them that I can compare with extroverted feeling being different, but is their emotions are deep and personal, and they don't have much need, or they don't feel inclined to express them much. They're just living in the attitudes that they have. They're living in the judgments they've made. They are experiencing their own emotions, and they don't necessarily need to express them to live in them. And in contrast, extroverted feelers, their feelings need to be expressed. They feel like they start to understand what they're feeling the more they talk about it. Their feelings need to be shared. And yeah, extroverted feeling is an expressive function. It's it's oriented towards people. So it's about being involved in the tribe and sharing yourself with the tribe and stuff like that. Expressing emotions and moving the emotions of people and stuff like that. Introverted feeling is not that way. It's just like a depth of emotion. I've heard it described that it's not wide, it's deep. That extroverted feeling is more wide and going from all these different emotions that are not, that are more shallow, I guess. That the extroverted feeler is less attached to the emotions that they're throwing out there. But the introverted feeler is like, they'll know all the range of emotion within one emotion. So it's like going deep into one particular emotion, going deep into sadness or going deep into joy and like seeing all the facets of it. They're seeing how all these different emotions come together to create other emotions in a sense. They're just emotionally intelligent inside themselves and understanding what they're experiencing, their own emotions. And they are also more inclined to, I guess, from being in touch with their own emotions, they will reference their own emotional states in order to identify with somebody else outside of them who's telling them like, hey, I'm going through this, or I feel sad. They would reference something that's similar that they've experienced and go, you know what, I think I can understand what you're going through because I went through this thing at one point in my life. And they're like, I experienced this. I know the emotions of that experience, so I can bring that up and I can share that with you. But they're not necessarily experiencing the other person's emotions. They are going inside themselves and finding something they think is relatable to the other person's experience, so they can say, hey, I empathize with what you're saying. But I've heard the terms used that sympathy is more an extroverted feeling sort of thing, that extroverted feelers literally like absorb the emotions of the people that are around them as their own emotions. And then they feel like they need to process the emotions of the people around them because they're now their emotions, in a sense that they have to kind of get that out themselves. And it started out as someone else's emotions, but that's how extroverted feeling is, that their emotions are intertwined with other people in that way. Introverted feeling is not that way. They don't feel that they need to share it as much. They can choose to because they decided to let you know their emotions, but they're not super emotionally expressive in that way. They're not super like just like dramatic displays of anything really. If they are feeling a lot of joy and they want to, they're in that state. If they're really in that state, you could see them like really just like overwhelmed with emotion, laughing and all of this. It can definitely come out, but it doesn't, as a function, need to come out to exist, to be, to thrive, to be processed. They are organizing their emotions as a primary, like, priority, or what they feel responsible to do. So they're able to do that on their own. They don't need to come and process with someone in order to process their emotions. And I'm an ESTP personally, and I have extroverted feeling. And when I talk with people, man, it really helps me to get my emotions out, to talk what I'm experiencing, talk what I'm feeling. And I talk my way through it. I give myself counsel, kind of, if I just get to talk. I actually, excuse me, I love to journal for that reason, because it's just expression of the emotion. Really helps me navigate what I'm experiencing. But an introverted feeler does that naturally internally. They're always coming to a conclusion, a decision about how they feel about things. So yeah, I would say introverted feeling is just deep. It's deeper. Some have said that they can be mellow. not melodramatic, what's that word? Melancholy, like a melancholy sort of drawn to darker emotions. Because they are aware of the depth of emotion. So introverted feeling doesn't have to be dark, but it's just depth. A lot of poets are introverted feelers. The two types that lead with this process is the ISFP and the INFP. And people like Edgar Allan Poe, Shakespeare, were these types. There's actors that are this type, musicians, so many people. I have a few people that's popping into mind, but like Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, I believe is an INFP or an ISFP. But yeah, this is just an example of like the depth of their emotion. They're like the most in touch with, I could say, pain, or they have really deep, big hearts. They have a great capacity to have compassion for other people because they understand the depths of emotion, the depths of life experience. They have a lot to pull from considering all of their experiences they experience very deeply. So yeah, I think that gives a pretty good picture of just like the pureness of FI. From there, I can kind of compare it to a few other things. Like I've talked about the extroverted thinking, that is a function that they do have, and it is beneficial for them to step out and get to know the tribe, get to know what works for the tribe, get to know what the tribe is valuing, what the tribe, what matters to them, what are their reasons, what's the logic of the tribe. I'm trying to speak onto extroverted thinking in the sense of like what's working, like what would be useful, I think is the best word, how they can be of service and of use to the collective. And how you navigate that is getting out there and getting to know the other people, and that you can see that the person that you are, your gifts and what you carry, how it can be of benefit to other people. Expression and just purely creating out of the creativity of your depths of emotion, like writing poetry, being a writer, and just creating music. And that is incredibly beautiful. Like a lot of people, like, Michael Jackson and Prince are said to be ISFPs, that they're amazing artists. It's just all the more you can be in touch with not just your own being and expressing that, the more you can get in touch with the people around you, what the world is needing or wanting, what they deem valuable, what would be of service to them, what would move society forward. Where are they stuck, right? That sense of go out and study the tribe, that can be a little daunting to step outside of yourself and, to get that feedback. It could be negative, which could, it's kind of the worst fear of an IP type, is to get negative feedback from the tribe. But yeah, there's a lot of growth in that. Let's see. And in contrasting it to introverted thinking is more a structural logic and understanding of things, and not emotion. So the inner world of a introverted thinker, which is also a IP type, is much different than this. So TI types are not as in touch with what they want, or what they like, rather, what they value personally. They might have great understanding about a lot of things, but there's a difference there. So just a little bit, if you're, trying to understand your type, it's a bit of a contrast there. Yeah, I'm going to look through some other things I wrote down and see if there's something else I want to add here. But yeah, they're kind of not for the system of things. They're very individualistic. Their friendships are very individualistic. They connect with people one on one. They they value people for who that person is, not just the group that they're a part of. Like their friendships are deeper than that. Their friendships are like, hey, I like that person. That person is my friend. It's not that they see the individual value in people and they like people because they see the character of that person. And that person is an individual to them. And their friendships are very true in that way. They're not as surfacey. They, once they see you a certain way, that is a set judgment for the positive or the negative. They're like, I see your character, you're a bad person. Or you're an upstanding person. I like you. I value you. Again, back to them not being extremely emotionally expressive, they'll just treat you the same way they've treated you all along. It's like, I see who you are and I'm going to treat you according to the judgment I've made towards you. And that's just a static, non-moving thing. I've heard it described that if something shifts, that person really changes, it becomes one and not the other. They throw out the other one and they have a new judgment on you. And that's what they believe about you. And that's a fixed thing, but the old has to literally be uprooted, torn apart, really, for them to move that judgment that they've made. But yeah, they're very loyal in that sense. Yeah, they're stable in how they view people in that sense, and they're very character oriented. They are people who see the character of other people. That's something that they're aware of. That's something that it's just something that they value knowing and making decisions on, that navigating their life and who they let close to them, who's more of an acquaintance, things like that. But yeah, what else can I say? It's a decider. These types are kind of balanced on their observations. Being a decider first, in the middle, they have either introverted sensing and extroverted intuition. For the INFP, or the ISFP has introverted intuition and extroverted sensing. But yeah, they're kind of balanced on their personal organization of things and, understanding things in that sense and taking in new information. They don't have an information imbalance. They're observers, is the term. That they kind of are balanced in that way, but where their imbalance is being all in on identity and out of touch with the tribe. I've kind of covered that, but just to reiterate, that's something for deciders. Another trait of deciders, they are people focused. So them being so heavy on the identity, they're aware of themselves, but it also makes them people focused of, they, when they encounter something or someone that they really identify with or they can admire, them being so in touch with the self and liking the self, it can kind of be like they have a lot of self-confidence in that sense of like, hey, I know who I am. And then they looked out at the spectrum of the tribe and they saw someone that was like, whoa, you're great too, in a sense. They can be they can kind of idolize people that they see are admirable to them. I've heard it put that way, that they can put that person on a pedestal in a sense of it has to do with being so in touch with the self that it's a comparison in a sense of like, wow, I can see the self that they are. I can see the individual that they are. And I'm really impressed by that, and they can aspire to be like that person. So yeah, it can be a lot of motivation for them to find somebody in the tribe that is amazing to them. And they're like, wow, I found my tribe, I found my people. And yeah, that's a big deal for them. And really, that's a good path for them to continually, go out and find other people that can bring even better things out of them, that can inspire them to develop the gift that they're already very much in touch with. But it is good for them to have people around them that speak into their life, and that they're not just on an island off doing their own thing, which they're very tempted to do, is to go off and rest in the freedom they feel when the tribe isn't getting to comment on them. They can kind of, TI types, dominant TI types and dominant FI types can both be prone to that. Just going deeper into the identity, and not letting themselves experience feedback from the tribe or community in a way that's really, a place of light where they're really seen, where they really present who they are and let people speak back to them. So, yeah, I think that's a good overview on introverted feeling. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you got value out of this, give me a thumbs up. And for future content, go on ahead and click the subscribe button below. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Again, thank you for stopping by the channel, and have a blessed one.